In a kingdom known as the Valley of Echoes, there was a strange and exhausting custom. The citizens believed that if they stopped talking, they would cease to exist. From sunrise to sunset, the streets were filled with a constant roar. People narrated their every move, argued over trifles, and shouted their opinions into the wind. They believed that the louder they spoke, the more power they held. In this valley lived a young man named Julian. Julian was a master of words, but he was dying of exhaustion. He felt as though his soul was a leaking vessel, and every word he uttered was a drop of his life force escaping. He was constantly anxious, reacting to every rumor and defending himself against every minor insult. He had no peace, no center, and zero control over his internal state. His energy was dissipated into the air, leaving him hollow. One day, Julian heard of a sage who lived on the silent mountain, a place where the air was so still you could hear the heartbeat of the earth. Desperate to find his lost strength, Julian climbed the mountain. He found the sage sitting by a stone well that appeared to be completely dry. "Master," Julian gasped, his voice raspy from years of constant talking, "I am empty. I have spoken 1,000,000 words, yet I feel invisible. I have defended my honor in 1,000 arguments, yet I feel weak. Tell me the secret of power. Tell me the word that will make me whole." The sage did not look up. He simply handed Julian a small wooden cup and pointed to the dry well. Then the sage placed a finger over his own lips. For 7 days Julian was forbidden to speak. At first the silence was terrifying. It felt like a heavy blanket suffocating him. Julian's mind screamed with all the things he wanted to say, all the clever points he wanted to make, all the judgments he wanted to voice. But as the days passed, something strange happened. Because he couldn't speak, he began to listen. He heard the rhythm of the wind. He noticed the tiny movements of the insects in the grass. Most importantly, he began to hear the noise inside his own head. He realized that his constant talking was just a way to drown out his own anxiety. On the 7th, his voice was low, but it carried the weight of a mountain. "Julian, look into the well." Julian looked. To his surprise, the well was no longer dry. It was filled with cool, crystal clear water. "The well was not dry," the sage whispered. "It was simply waiting for the dust of your noise to settle. Your words are like stones thrown into a pond. They create ripples that disturb the surface, making it impossible to see the depth. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the collection of power. This is the core lesson of the Stoic sages. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, famously said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may hear more and speak less. They understood that every time we speak without purpose, we are handing a piece of our sovereignty to the world. We are seeking validation from the outside rather than finding it within our inner citadel. The sage told Julian a story of a great general who was insulted by a rival in front of a crowd. The crowd waited for the general to roar back, to defend his ego. But the general remained silent. He simply looked at the rival with calm eyes and walked away. The rival grew furious because his thorns found no place to stick. By remaining silent, the general kept his power while the rival exhausted his own. "Silence," the sage continued, "is a fortress. When you do not react, you are in control. When you do not explain yourself to those who do not care, you save your energy for what is virtuous. The man who can master his tongue can master his fate." Julian returned to the Valley of Echoes, but he was a different man. He no longer felt the need to fill every silence with noise. When people argued, he listened. When they insulted him, he remained still. People began to notice a strange resilience in him. He seemed bigger, steadier, and more healed than anyone else. By speaking less, Julian's words gained weight. When he did speak, people stopped to listen, because they knew his words came from a place of contemplation. rather than a place of panic. He had discovered that silence was not a void, but a reservoir of strength. This is the message for us in our digital age of constant broadcasting. We live in a world that demands we have an opinion on everything, that we post every thought, and that we respond to every notification. We are dissipating our souls into the noise of the internet. Stoicism invites you to reclaim the power of silence. You do not need to win every argument. You do not need to explain your life to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Tonight, try a small experiment. In your next conversation, instead of waiting for your turn to speak, just listen. When you feel the urge to defend yourself or to judge another, stay silent for 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, you will find your control. Silence is the soil where wisdom grows. It is the wall that protects your internal peace. Stop giving your energy away to the wind. Build your fortress in the quiet, for it is only in the stillness that you can truly hear the song of your own soul.